Hi everybody, Keith Shaw here for IDG Enterprise. Welcome to Short Take. And the iPhone 5 was released on Wednesday, or at least it was announced. We're going to be seeing it next week, but we've had a couple of days to digest, and there might be some irritations about the new product. And to discuss some iPhone 5 alternatives, we've got Al Sacco. He's a senior editor for CIO.com, and he writes the Mobile Workhorse blog. And you wrote a piece about some iPhone 5 alternatives.
I did.
That will go through some of the different options that you have if you don't want to get an iPhone 5. Some of the things that I was just really irritated about after reading some of the stuff was kind of if I wanted to switch over to Verizon was this shared data plan. It was going to cost me more money from my current AT&T plan into this new shared data plan. That was kind of irritating. If I stayed with AT&T, they've got not very good 4G LTE coverage. So I'm weighing the pros and the cons. And to be honest, I'm a little annoyed by this little Lightning connector. This new connector, it replaced the 30-pin connector with this new one. You're going to have to pay $30 for the adapter that works with all of your old stuff. I've got a lot of speakers and stuff. Plus kind of the no NFC, the no near-field communications. That was a little kind of irritating.
Sure.
So let's talk about some of the alternatives out there. First up, let's talk about the Motorola DROID RAZR MAXX HD. That's a really long name.
It is. It's one of 3 new RAZR phones unveiled last week by Motorola. They had the Motorola DROID RAZR M, Motorola DROID RAZR HD, and Motorola DROID RAZR MAXX HD.
Okay, so the closest...
It's a mouthful.
Yeah, so the closest to the iPhone 5 would be this RAZR MAXX HD?
Not necessarily, but that's the one that really stands out to me, largely just because of the battery life. That MAXX in the name signifies battery life.
And what's the battery life that they're claiming?
This device, according to Motorola, is 32 hours of continuous normal use. What normal use means is, up to Motorola, but it says it gets about 13 hours of continuous video playback. That's not streaming, but video stored on the device, and that is impressive. Just for context, the middle-of-the-road device, the RAZR MAXX HD, gets 6 hours less of normal use, so that's an additional 6 hours on that phone, and that can obviously make a big difference, especially with an LTE device.
And what are some of the other things that make it different from the iPhone 5?
Larger display. The RAZR MAXX HD has a 4.7-inch Super AMOLED HD display, which is significantly larger than the 4-inch display.
So it's taller and wider?
It's taller and wider. The iPhone is, like I said, it's a 4-inch display, but it's the same width as the last generation iPhone. Faster, or not necessarily faster processor, as a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core processor. Kind of hard to compare that to the A6 chip at this point, which is the new chip in the iPhone 5. I haven't had my hands on it yet, but they should be comparable, actually. That's an Android phone, runs Android 4.1 out of the box, although Motorola did say it will be upgradable. Actually, excuse me, it runs Android 4.0 out of the box. Motorola said it will be upgradable to 4.1 Jelly Bean, though when that actually is upgraded is,
And does that have NFC on it?
It does have NFC, yes.
And is it available now or not? Or
it's not available now. It should be available before the end of the year. No pricing or carrier details right now.
Yeah. See, for some reason I thought Verizon Wireless had an exclusive on that.
It's available now. The one that's available now is the DROID RAZR M.
Oh, okay. All right, that's the one that I was confused with.
The other 2 are before the end of the year.
All right, so the next phone we want to talk about is the Nokia Lumia 920. That was announced last week, and there's a lot of big differences between that one and the iPhone.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, it's going to be one of the first Microsoft Windows Phone 8 devices. Windows Phone 8, we don't know too much about yet, but it should be very different than the iOS software. Just unique. If you're just looking for a change of pace, that's definitely going to qualify there. The phone also has a larger display than the iPhone 5's 4-inch display. It's got a 4.5-inch display, so half an inch bigger. One of the most notable features is really this wireless charging in the Lumia 920. Wireless charging isn't new, but this is actually built into
I remember the Palm 1 had, or the HP.
Right, and there's a lot of kind of third-party accessories. You could pop a case on your phone.
The power mount ones,
exactly. This is actually built into the phone, and Nokia is also releasing a bunch of cool accessories, like what they're calling a charging pillow and a few different docks.
And the camera features were impressive too on that.
They're also talking about something called Pure View, which Nokia actually found itself in some hot water last week when it was found that some of the camera footage it was showing off wasn't actually taken with the phone. But that aside, the camera features look unique. Has an 8.7 megapixel camera with a Carl Zeiss lens. Now, people always think it's all about megapixels. Once you get above a certain level, like around 8, it's more about the camera components and the lens, and the Carlos Zeiss lens should be pretty good.
Right now, the downside on that is we also don't know when this phone is going to be out.
That's right. We don't know when it will be released, although, again, before the end of the year.
Yeah, yeah.
No carrier or pricing specifics.
Now, one phone that I do want to talk about that is out now is the Samsung Galaxy S3.
Sure.
And you've got one right here.
I do. This is one of my personal favorites. Unfortunately, I dropped this thing last week, and it now has a smashed display, so I'm not using it, but I'll probably fix it.
You were like spiking it, right?
No, I was not spiking it.
You were mad at the Red Sox or something and just spiked it.
On that note, if you get a Samsung Galaxy S3, get a case with it. It's very slim and slippery, and which can be a good thing in some cases, but not when you break it.
All right, so let's talk about this phone in terms of what you really like, because
Sure.
I did like this phone when I reviewed it.
Sure. One of my favorite things is just the big, huge display. I mean, this thing's massive. 4.8-inch Super AMOLED HD display, really bright resolution, nice colors. That's significantly bigger than the 4-inch screen on the iPhone 5. Has a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core processor, which in fact all 3 of the phones we're talking about in this have that, so it's about standard right now. Also has NFC with a Samsung NFC feature called S-Beam and an Android NFC feature called Android Beam, which basically just make it easier to share photos and videos with other Android users or NFC-compatible devices. It's a nice little feature, makes it very easy to use. Decent battery life, got a 2100 mAh battery pack, probably average or better on battery life for an LTE Android phone. One thing that's notable about this is it's available on every major U.S. carrier, including U.S. Cellular, so you're not going to have to switch your carrier if you want this device,
right.
which can be a good thing. Also has a removable battery, which very valuable on an LTE phone. You know, one day you just end up streaming a lot more than you expect.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because when Apple announced the iPhone, they had a big chart that showed all the different battery lives, but they didn't mention 4G LTE talk time.
And I think a lot of new iPhone 5 users who aren't familiar with LTE are going to get a little surprised there, because it's very different.
What do you think it might be? Like, will it be like 4 hours or less, or you think that?
I mean, it's hard to say really, but it will be. You know, it should be roughly comparable with what the 4S is getting right now on 3G.
Yeah, what do you get on this on 4G?
If I'm using normal use, I'll get through a full day on this.
Yeah,
normal use, but I'll have to charge it, you know, when I get home probably.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so again, the good news is that this is out now, other than some of the
This is
other
out
phones.
now. It's available for $200 with a 2-year contract on most carriers. I think T-Mobile's charging a little bit more, but $200 on most carriers.
And you've got a bunch of other phones that you wrote about on the slideshow. So
I do.
Head to CIO.com, head to the Al's Mobile Work Hours blog if you want more details, and possibly some other phones that are out there that are kind of like the equivalent to the iPhone 5. So thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.